Hello, so I'm doing my interview here with Lyann from Street Outreach, and I've been working with Lyann for 3 years now, 2 years at the hub, and then since September at the drop-in, which is mini hub. Okay, here we go. We're both nervous. So, who are you? What did you do for? Okay, first, who are you? Your schooling background, and what do you do for work? And then I guess what got you into this work?
Okay. Well, my name is Lyann Hunter. I graduated the SSW diploma in 2016. I then went on to online at UVic, and I'm about 85% done my degree, but had to stop for family reasons a couple of years ago, so that needs to be finished. And I took my first job right out of my practicum was career development services, doing outreach and housing, the housing coordinator for our unhoused population. And then 2020, I came to know some community services and started in the homelessness prevention program. And then they gave me 1 day a week for street outreach, which then turned full-time street outreach.
Nice. What is the homelessness prevention program you used to do?
HPP, it is just a program where once an individual is housed, whether it's marketplace or whatnot, a lot of the times, whether you're on income assistance or disability, PWD, you can't afford the full rent, obviously, because it's insane out there. We have a program that offers up to $450 a month
nice.
to supplement their income, but it only lasts for up to a year, so you have to come up with a sustainability plan where you're going to be able to carry on making that money eventually, so you would hope for employment or something that would bring in that income for them.
So is that what Leah's doing now?
It's similar. It's the SRSP, and that follows you for life.
Oh, really?
Yes, but you have to, it comes with supports that you need to carry on with as well. So you're connected with mental health, you're connected with employment, you're connected with different types of services, and as long as you're checking in with those services, then you will get this rent subsidy for life.
Nice.
Yes.
And is that, what do you have to do? What are the restrictions on it? Because I was told when I was doing the stepping stones thing that there's a certain bursary for people, but it's for people who just got out of jail, or you have to fit a certain group. Is that
I think
something different?
So that's not Leah's program, but I've also heard of that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's also through BC Housing.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100%. I don't know the logistics of that one, but I have heard of it.
We were looking into it when one of our peeps came out of jail, and he's now at the NSI, but he struggled for so long to get housing, so we were looking at that up for him.
Yeah, there's another one like that too that's come through with domestic violence is involved.
Yeah.
I think the transition host was telling me about it as well, but I don't have enough information on it.
Something I want to ask you now, it's a different question than this, but doing your work on UVic online, so we had a whole bunch of students last year who graduated that was kind of more like my cohort, and they were all so adamant about getting into UVic, and then Jen and Sierra both said that they think that it's not worth all the hype and all the money to take the UVic courses. They said if I wanted to take different courses, what's your opinion on that, taking UVic? Because I want to do my bachelor eventually.
Well, I kind of agree with that. First of all, I wish that it wouldn't have been online and that I could, if I didn't have children, I would have actually been in school.
Yeah.
You get way more from it like that. And it was easier for me to even just do that. It would be different. I would prefer to then break it up into different courses and do it that way for sure, which is why I probably even haven't finished the program yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have to agree with Sienna that way. And overall, I would rather just be in school.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I like doing the in-person way better.
It's way harder, especially as a single mom, to like get your shit together. And...
Yeah. I find it easier doing the online work. I just miss the talking.
The connection.
Yeah, you learn a lot from just the chatting and stuff in class.
Absolutely.
And I hate doing forums. I can't stand it.
And in all honesty, like, actually, school is one thing, but you do not learn social work unless you're hands-on.
Yeah.
And I also have come to realize that I probably don't need my degree because I am exactly where I want to be in this career, and I have learned a million times more things on the ground.
Yeah.
With my
peeps
than I ever have in school.
Yeah, I have to agree.
It gives you the basics, but...
The thing that I really struggled with, since we're on mental health and addiction, we learned so much about schizophrenia, you know, and psychosis. You learn all these things about it in school, and then when I started working at the hub, it basically, most of the time it feels like we're working at a psychiatric unit. And everything that they teach you in school, when people are having episodes of psychosis or they're having bad symptoms and they're reacting at us aggressively and negatively, it's like I find that some of the tools that they teach us don't usually always work, and it's kind of like we have to just go with the flow with it.
Exactly.
You know, like, of course the stuff we learn is valuable, but
it definitely gives you the basics and the knowledge to go into a situation, but every case is so different, and every person is so different that they can't teach you all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So it is absolutely, like you said, it's going into it, and then it's almost like, what's that called? Your intuition, whatever. You just, adrenaline just takes over. Yeah. And like even your schooling, it's out the window. You just do and be what you gotta.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely gives you the tools to start with.
Yeah, big time.
But
you know, I feel like I have learned a lot in school, but it also made it really easy for me taking school because of the life experience that we have.
Absolutely.
And I do find I use a lot of my life experience just being a street kid and a bad kid, and you know, knowing the drug world. It makes my job really easy, and it makes it easier to connect with people. Because I see other people come in, like look at our practicum student that came in. People were not connecting with her, and it made me realize, because I was like, oh, just go chat with people and build rapport, and she was struggling, and I'm like, it's so easy to talk to people, but I forget, like, I have a deep connection with a lot of people. Okay, what do you see that if you could make changes in our community, like our unhoused community, poverty, our most vulnerable, like what is something you see in our community of Nelson that really needs a change?
I've seen a lot of growth since being here in the social service sector. Like, I've seen different types of housing brought in, and I've seen a lot of our folks benefit from these types of housing, like North Shore and like Ward Street, whatever. But the one thing that we need so badly is the not supportive housing. Oh my god, it just flew out of
for
my
like
head.
Mental health.
Like the housing where there's more one-on-one, like supportive housing, but there's a word.
Like transition workers, like Molly, like people cleaning.
Pretty much, but there's like the one type of housing. We just had a meeting with Brittany Anderson, who was gonna bring it to Victoria and be like, we need this.
Oh, thank
it's
God.
the ones, say the 10 people that we have left on the street that don't even fit the NSI, but they need that.
Yeah. So like psychiatric housing,
pretty much, it is. There's a word for it. I'll probably think of it right after.
I'll come back to it because it's another question I have.
But we need that, and then another big piece of it would be to have the public be willing to just be a little bit more educated, because the word out there from the Nelson population is horrific. It's because they don't understand. Yeah. And I would love to be able to just. I mean, I see the point of view on both sides. Me too. But I also wish that they were more open-minded. Yeah.
Me and Mom refer a lot to the Salem witch trials. Like, we could see how, like, you know, how many 100 years ago, when that happened with the witch trials, people weren't even as educated as we are right now. Mm-hmm. But the way people are acting with our homeless community, it's basically like get them out of here, chase them out of town. They don't
out of
care.
sight, out of mind.
Yeah, they don't care if they die. Just get away from us. And we could and how people have ganged up online and they get so aggressive. We could see how people went cuckoo with the witch trials.
Absolutely.
Just how they're treating our homeless community. It's like what the.
I definitely see both sides of it, and I see that a lot of our folks, like the one that showed up online with the people that sat in the park with the child in the swing, like I get that as a mom for sure.
Oh,
that would
yeah.
piss me off. But I just wish somehow there could be a connection at some point where, I don't know, we could just all work together.
Yeah, I agree. That's a big point. So how does your we learned about our social location in school. How does your social location, views, and upbringing and your life experience affect the job? Which is kind of how you winded up in the job too, hey?
Yeah. A social worker saved my life when I was 9 for a minute. I had come from absolute horrific abuse. And I have battled my own addictions for years. I almost died in my 20s. And so I knew right from the get-go that I wanted to be a social worker. But I also knew that I had so much healing to do that I wasn't strong enough to take the course until my 30s because there was violence and sexual abuse and just horrificness. And then initially I wanted to go into victim services because that was my upbringing. Yeah. But then when I went into women's outreach, I was triggered every goddamn day and couldn't do it. So anyway, at 36, I felt like I was healed enough to go into the program. The program was fucking amazing. Yeah. It healed. It was therapy in itself. I know. Like I did so much crying. Me too. And, like crying in therapy. Getting up in front of the class and reading the papers and doing your projects, and I would just cry, and it was like the best therapy and the best course, which made me then want to do my bachelor's.
Hell yeah.
But you made a point of like the practicum student coming in green. I've been homeless. I've been addicted for 10 years. I've overdosed. All of it. And so after the little stint in victim services, I quickly ended up in mental health and addictions, which is where I fell into street outreach, which has just been the biggest passion of my life.
I know, you're good at the job.
I love it. Yeah. So I'm just going to turn the volume off, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know, my whole history, my whole life has put me in this position where I am right now. Was that the question?
Yeah, nailed it.
The volume off on my phone.
So why did you choose to work in a rural community instead of working with a city with more resources? And then I have a couple more questions that are kind of on that base, and I'm asking that because I'm doing a research paper on rural homelessness versus the city life.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, like, a part of me, like, it's personal and professional. I have really bad anxiety. I would never make it in a city. And as well as, like, it's something that I do and I feel so much passion for. And then I feel like in a city, there's lots of supports and lots of, and where it's rural, there's less of us. And if I think you have more people coming from that background with that passion, I feel like I benefit way more in a rural area, and I can focus on individuals way more than what I would do if I was in the city just going, there'd be no case management for me. And this way I can follow my peeps and help, and like from homelessness to housing. I just think more people are needed in rural.
Me too.
Especially with the passion and the backgrounds that we have. Yeah. And we can do more good. Somehow.
Totally. And I couldn't imagine, like, our job is intense.
It is.
And just in this little community, it's intense. Yeah. And I actually, being an addict and living, like, on the street and everything I've gone through, I was like, oh, nothing's going to shock me. I know everything because of the life I lived. And then I go into this work, and it shocked me how we have, like, a little mini downtown Vancouver almost in Nelson. Yeah. And I wouldn't have seen this without this job, you know what I mean? It's really opened my eyes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every day. Every day.
What are some things and changes in our community, like the unhoused, the most in our vulnerable population, that are successful, that have been working?
Well, again, it's been absolutely amazing having the North Shore Inn open. I mean, we've seen staggering differences even from Baker Street, being people lighting up their fentanyl pipes all along Baker Street. Like, you don't see that as much. Brandy's was amazing for the short-lived time because it gave everybody purpose.
And it was open night times when everything else was closed.
In the winter when everybody was freezing and the shelter was full and the winter beds were full. Like, I see Nelson really, really trying. And since Brandy's initially started it, we had a lot of business owners come up to us being like, since Brandy's it's been like quiet, it's amazing, like that's awesome that's there.
Yeah, really?
And then, a lot of business owners came to us and were very and supportive of it and like, let's do this. And then again, with the North Shore has opened up, it's given everybody a place to be and a roof over their head and housing and cleaned up Baker Street like they wanted. I don't know.
But there's all the beds in the shelter opened up, so there's more people staying there.
But now they're full again.
Yeah.
And now everything's full again.
And so this is something, I'm going to ask a question on mental health and then addiction. So on mental health, we talked about this earlier, and it's something that I've seen for a while. I did bring it up at I spoke at the homeless summit, not last year, because we lost Stephen, but the year before. Yeah. I was like the people, and now now I'm seeing it more, that people are getting into the North Shore Inn. It's the people who are deemed too hard to deal with. Their mental health is so severe, they can't sit down and do the VAT. And we seen the other day, even some people don't have the mental capacity to even do the ministry. Yeah. So, like, what could be changed, to support those people in that situation?
We actually had a city meeting about this because they wanted to know roughly how many feral why aren't they getting into the North Shore Inn?
Yeah.
And so I think that we have a select few individuals that have been outside for so long. The three of us have continually tried to approach. We have all the paperwork in our backpacks. We are on them every day. Yeah. And they don't want the housing. Like, this is their voice. Yeah. This is That's is again where we have come in with the supportive housing. Yeah. But that you can't force these folks into something they don't want to do. Yeah. And so a lot of the time too, trying to find the baseline where they're, I guess, sober enough to even want to do the paperwork, but then when you get them in that time frame, they don't want the housing. Yeah. Like, there's a few of them that they don't trust the man, they don't trust that Nelson Cares is actually, like, it's okay. Yeah. Some of them have been when the North Shore Inn was the hotel, and unfortunately, due to psychosis and whatever, they all have their own ideas of how Nelson Cares did them wrong, which I'm sure in some circumstances there was shit going on. True, yeah. And so it's like a 50-50 split. A lot of these individuals have just been outside for too long. They don't want the housing, they don't want the constraints, they don't. And then the other half is like, we've been there, we've done that, I don't trust anybody, and this is just how it's going to be. Yeah. And so I don't know where that answer is. Yeah, I know it's a hard one. It's a hard one. And you can't make anybody do something they don't want to do.
Well, that's a very good point you bring up, because I didn't even think about that, because I have some people that are friends of mine that were friends before I did my schooling, and who have like schizophrenia, and they're on the street and they lost their housing and they can't do their VAT. So I always worry about them, and I always want to try and advocate for them to get into housing, but it's a very good point that they just don't want to, which is also fair.
It's heartbreaking. Like, we try, we don't stop trying. Like, all three of us literally have the VAT paperwork in our backpacks and are like continually trying to get certain people, because one minute it's a yes, I'll do it, and then you're there and you got it, and then they're like, I don't know, but it's hard, and there's so many variables to it. It's hard too, because those are the people too that parents are calling, messaging, and we can't say anything. No. It's a hard one. It's true. Oh, true.
I had a question come up. I was thinking, it's off these questions, but since we opened the drop-in here, it was actually Brandy, and I usually wouldn't say people's names, but Brandy passed away, and her name is very open with the community about stuff.
Yeah.
And it was Brandy last winter, and because I've known her for 18 years, we're really close, and it was winter. She just wasn't allowed inside, and she started crying to me and said, I feel like a fucking dog. I'm an animal. I'm not allowed in anywhere. And it broke me, and I told Mom, because my mom and Brandy were even closer than me and her were.
Right.
And we started advocating to let her in. So when it was freezing, we let her in, and then because of that whole situation, when we opened the drop-in, because me and Mom were more in charge now than we were before, we had more power, so we decided, and privilege, and what I've learned about privilege in school is like I'm standing in a place of privilege, so why not help those without a voice? So we decided to let people in who were on a ban list, and people who were on the ban list, some of those people were like assaulted my mom, they've like threatened my life to kill me, same with Mom, and we decided to let them off the suspension and give them another chance because it's a new space. You know what I mean? Most people, like 95% of the people that have apologized, they tried to make an amends. And like, what do you think about that? Because most people who are allowed back in, now it's been going really successful.
I'm all for it. I'm 1,000,000% all for it. And I was behind you guys when it first opened, when we were dealing with the one individual. I was like, it's a fresh start. It's a fresh place. And you're right, Brandy did feel like that, and it was heartbreaking. And everybody deserves a second, third, fourth chance. Like, it is what it is. And they face so many obstacles and hurdles. Like, a part of me, there's a lot of accountability that does not get taken, which is a bit frustrating in a way.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get it. So
yeah,
I was all for it, and I'm so grateful that you two pushed for it.
It's true, though. You and Jeremy were a big push for that, too, and you guys stood behind us and advocated for it. So me and Mom and Jeremy and Lyann all pushed, and we went to our coordinator and higher-ups, and they let us take away the bans.
I don't think we were going to take no for an answer.
It
didn't seem
It's kind of like we're the bosses.
We're here.
No one's checking in on us anyway, so we're going to do what we want.
If it gets out of control, we'll deal. Like, whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
So for addiction, me and Mom were interviewing people. It was more at the hub, but and then asking some people at the drop-in. But say we asked maybe 100 people, only 3 of those people said, "Hell yeah, I love this lifestyle, and I like being an addict, and I want to be an addict." And you know what's funny? One of those guys who I never thought would get sober, no judgments. I just never thought he would. He said he liked it. He went to jail and is now clean in second stage housing. So, I see like this huge group, like 95% of our peeps talk about getting into recovery and they want it. Yeah. But I think it's their addiction. I think a lot of it's psychosis. Because I saw that with Steven. He'd want to go to treatment. He'd be like, yeah, we'd set it up. He'd want to go. And then the addict brain would be like, oh, I'm going to use one more time. And then he'd go in psychosis. And it would last months. Yeah. And so I'm just wondering, do you have any what could we do to get people past that step? Like, there's so many people who want treatment, but how do we get them through that door? Because it's scary and we get it. Yeah. We're both recovering addicts, right?
Yeah. I see, so this is, I feel, where the system is failing these individuals, because the moment someone approaches you on the street, in that very moment when they're like, we want recovery, that is the moment that you need to scoop them up and put them through that process and get them into recovery, because you lose them again. You lose them for weeks, months, they die, they come back to you, I don't know.
Right.
But we battle it all the time. Jeremy's fantastic at this because he, whatever, but he gets them within days, and that's what you have to do. Like, when that person comes to you, that is possibly their baseline. They're in that moment. That is when everything needs to happen, and we don't have enough facilities. We don't have enough treatment centers. We don't have enough anything for them to do it, because you're just going to lose them again, which is horrible, and it's not their fault. You have to use, it's an addiction, it's a sickness. I'm pretty sure it was in the DSM-5, no?
It has been diagnosed. I think it's now a medical condition.
Yeah.
It's changed Canada. I think it's Canada-wide. I couldn't see them just doing it in BC.
No.
But it is now like a medical thing.
I just think that's where we're failing them because in the addiction process, you have to bank on if it doesn't happen in that moment, then they're just into their addiction again. And we'll go through it for a year every time someone comes up to us and is like, we start it. But it either gets lost in mental health and addictions, or the ball gets dropped over here, or something over here. And then again, not enough.
Yeah.
There isn't enough.
I know. It's my dream. I really want to open a treatment center.
That'd be amazing.
Like in the Kootenays or Balfour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've asked
Why
Dr.
do we have one in the Kootenays?
I know. Well, because I actually asked Jen.
Did you?
And because we're like a rural area, it's hard to get funding for such a small community.
Yeah.
I talked to Dr. Kalia for it because Dr. Kalia offered me a job about a year or two ago. When he moved to Vancouver, he was opening a treatment center in Vancouver for people who it's like psychoactive therapy, and it's for people who have gone to treatment 20 times and it doesn't work. People who are doing all the steps and everything and it just doesn't click.
Yeah.
There's new breakthroughs in psychoactive therapy, so that's what and it fell through. So he sent me this course I still want to take, but at the time it was very expensive. I will. Yeah. I do. I was going to share with Aaron too, because now I'm going to be done my diploma. I actually want to take it.
Yeah.
Because it is a therapy thing that I want, because I use it myself. Okay. I started microdosing when I started to go to school. So when I started going back to school, it was all online the first year because of COVID. And I'd gone through so much therapy for my head injury and vision. And I started going to school and my migraines and stuff came back. And I had to drop out because of being an addict, because of having endometriosis, because I got hit by a car. I had to drop out of school. I'd start and finish so many times that I felt like a failure, and I was actually doing good in school, and I didn't want to drop out again. Yeah. And I wasn't really into I was scared to microdose or anything in my recovery. Yeah, but I started doing it. And I was struggling with my memory, my cognitive, and psychology. I was getting like barely 60%. I'm a straight A student. Yeah. I started microdosing, migraines went away, and my grades shot back up to straight A's. And my mom even said, I don't know what's going on, but the last couple years you've changed and grown so much. And I was like, the only thing I've changed is doing the microdosing for my moods. Yeah. So I'm not such a fucking spaz all the time.
Yeah, I feel that. I need to do that too.
Yeah, but Dr. Kalia said it's interior health. They're impossible to deal with. Yeah. He told me if I wanted to open a treatment to do a private practice. Yeah. But then again, I don't want to open a treatment that's like $50,000 a person.
And it would have to be private.
Yeah. So I don't know, brainstorming, thinking, but it's still my dream.
Yeah, we need balls are dropped.
And I'd love it to be Indigenous based, like having, because that's what saved my life in recovery, was the sweat lodge and the drumming and all that stuff. And then, I don't know, maybe do it, because, maybe teach Naselchin or something in it. Help bring back some of the culture in our area. Yeah. So next question is, how do you feel about forced treatment, mandatory treatment, and also with the decriminalization? They put the decriminalization law in because it worked in other countries, and basically it's like, okay, you can do drugs wherever the fuck you want now. And the thing that they are missing, that we're not doing, is the mandatory treatment. In other countries where it's been successful, they've had the mandatory treatment, and they forget to say that to people. So what are your views on mandatory treatment?
When I first heard of it, honestly, I felt like it sounded inhumane, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But after talking to coworkers and just digging into a little bit more research about it, and I think it's case by case.
Yeah,
I don't think that it would be useful for a lot of our individuals, but just offhand, I can think of 2 individuals right now that would so benefit from it if supports followed them after. You can't force somebody into treatment and then just release them back to where they came from.
Very good point.
If there was second stage after and so on and so forth, and like Jared had brought up. say in Portugal and such,
yeah,
their treatments are 3 years. Ours are 90 days.
Yeah.
You can't release somebody after forced treatment just back to the street. So I mean, I am in agreement for certain individuals, certain cases.
Yeah.
I feel, and those are the ones that are literally a harm to themselves and are gonna die and are so far gone in psychosis or schizophrenia that they don't even, you can't even tell reality anymore.
I'm just all for it. Before I was totally against it, being
Yeah.
a recovering addict.
Yeah.
And just what we went through with Steven and how many times he was
Would have
desperate to
benefited from
go.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's someone who fit in the category. So my
Absolutely.
opinions have changed on it.
Yeah.
But there's a very good point you brought up, because I see a bunch of people, they go to jail, they go to treatment, and they're doing really well.
Yeah.
And then they come back.
And then a week they're gone.
Yeah, because there's no housing.
Yeah.
They just get released back to being
I know.
homeless.
There's no plan in place.
And give it a
There's
week,
no...
they're doing fentanyl again.
Yeah.
So it's
100%.
like, how do you expect people to get clean and sober when people need to have their basic,
needs met.
their basic, their basic like needs met, so that they can.
Well, and it's all about connection too. Like,
Yeah.
and if you put someone in forced treatment and they're doing well and they're benefiting from it, you want that to continue along that path with those connections, with that, like all of that.
Yeah.
And they're saying forced treatment, which yes is beneficial for sure. I am on board, but they're not backing it up with the continued supports.
Yeah.
And so, like, this is just where the system is
Yeah.
so failing us.
We need
right
housing.
now.
Like
Yeah.
people who don't have addictions or mental health issues can't find
Yeah, like
housing.
how many more people are we seeing on the street in the shelter without addictions that
Yeah.
have lost their housing?
Yeah.
It's insane.
So I'm doing a research paper, 25 research paper for directed studies. I get to work with Jamie Jones.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for innovative
Sweet.
studies.
Okay.
And I'm doing it with Amina. She works at Stepping Stones.
Okay.
And so our paper is on rural homelessness in our area of Nelson and how collaboration can benefit homelessness or prevent it. So what are some benefits of collaboration that you see, like ENCO or...
Yeah. I think it just brings more awareness to the needs of things. And you're collaborating with all the different agencies and you can compare notes and you have the same end goal, I guess. It opens up more eyes, it brings more resources, it brings more awareness. I don't know, it just brings the focus to the need, and it's way more positive to have everybody collaborating and working on it and being on the same page.
Like, look at the hub style, because
Yeah.
even Aaron brings that up a lot.
Yeah.
And Ryle too, just at the last couple meetings that we had, that since the hub shut down, even when the hub shut down and we weren't open yet, we were trying to, and the camp at City Hall got shut down.
Yeah.
We were just going around to bring people food, and we couldn't
Yeah.
find anyone just to feed them.
Exactly.
How are workers supposed to find people?
It's a scatter, exactly, and so it's just
Yeah, I know. I miss the full-time drop-in.
I know when that shut down, and then earlier in the questions you had said when Brandy's an NSI, this drop-in center too is a major piece of that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to leave that out.
Totally, yeah.
So, like, there's a spot where we can all find all of our people.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah, I'm really grateful, like, because we were open 2 days a week, Monday and Thursday. Our I keep going blank because my anxiety. Our contract was only supposed to go till the end of December because of funding, because of penny pinching, and Mom's really good with budget.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to stay open till March 31st, but we were only supposed to be a pop-up for the winter, and some funding just came through. So now we're permanently can stay open for Thursday. So it kind of looks like it sucks, but really it's a win. We don't have to shut down.
Win.
Yeah.
It's a huge win.
So what was your biggest takeaway from your schooling that you learned and that you use?
Personally, my biggest takeaway was the healing I did that gave me the strength and power to do this job and to be there for those individuals where I once was. I think, like, obviously I learned the basics, the tool, the education, but I've been through therapy, I've been through everything, and that program and those professors were amazing, and it just healed me. Doing all of the work, all of the whatever we did, healed me enough to be able to do this position and be there for these folks.
Big time, hey? Like, I actually just got to do the speaker for Jen's because I'm challenging this class that I'm doing the video for.
Yeah.
And I went to be the speaker, and I got to talk about my recovery, and then we got to talk about the schooling. And I find that the social work program is like recovery schooling.
Yeah.
They just teach you the scientific and the studies behind everything we do in recovery. And it, also too, me and Mom did it at the same time. And before we did our schooling, we were like trying to garden outside, and we're fist fighting, basically going to kill each other. And then we do our schooling and everything together, and we're outside gardening, like, pass me that, no problem, bro. And we were laughing so hard, and we were like, it's the schooling. It changed even how our relationship is together.
The support, I don't know, it was amazing, and they just hold you. They hold you. They give you that space, and it's
I like how you bring up the instructors. I find the instructors I don't think I would have been able to get through my course without my instructors. Just everything that we've gone through in the past few years, like so many people passing away, people shooting each other, and everything with our family, and then just the job being intense. Like, holy shit, my instructors have held me through this, and I can't believe I'm even at this point.
I had 3 specific ones. Leslie Comrie, oh my god, and I'm just blanking out on 2 of the names. She doesn't do it. I just seen her the other day. I don't know, but I wouldn't have been able to do this without that course and those.
It makes a difference, eh?
100%.
So something that Jen wanted me to ask was, how do you prevent burnout, and what works for you? It's something that they really push us now in school. I guess they used to leave it out. And it's self-care and preventing burnout, something they really try and teach us.
So even when I graduated, they were pushing self-care, and there was assignments and things to do on it. And that's one of the things that you can learn all you want in school and take all the suggestions. But when you're in it, like, currently I feel like I have empathetic burnout. It's been 9 years. I've put myself in therapy now. Like, our agency has now offered clinical therapy, but who knows if and when that'll come to fruition. I still love what I do. I wouldn't stop. They say, like, the shelf life of an outreach worker is literally 3 years, and this is my 9th year. I keep doing it because of how I grew up. And I had someone there for me, and if I didn't have someone there for me, I think I would be dead right now. But I have now put more focus on self-care, so now it's therapy. Now I get lost in the mountains, as you see in my pictures. That's actually really the only thing that does it for me, is getting lost in the mountains. A lot of what affects my burnout right now is my personal life. As a single mom, as you know, with my bro, like all the things. There doesn't seem to be a break in the home life stress. But again, with the street outreach job that I have, I would not be able to do it without Jeremy and Rob.
I know, they're amazing.
Everybody talks about therapy, but the 3 of us debrief. Freaking therapy each other. I don't know, like, if I was doing this on my own on the street, I think I probably would have quit a long time ago. But the fact that we have each other has carried me thus far. In therapy and mountains. You guys have a great team. You can only take so much, the lack of accountability on the street, but then this is where I go back to my schooling. This is where I go back to psychology. This is where I go back and remember the learning in the brain and why there's no accountability and why people are the way they are. And so I have to check myself and my privilege and be like, okay, this is why, like, calm down. It's not their fault. It's hard though. We go in and out of burnout, and then we take weeks off. And then we come back and
that's a very good point. And Rhonda taught that to me when I was doing my practicum at Stepping Stones. I actually had to take a 3-week mental health break. Rhonda made me. It was office school and work, and I was doing the hub and then the Stepping Stones. So it was like 6 days a week doing frontline, and that's when we were having like 4 to 8 overdoses a day. And I just was like, I was still new to it.
Yeah.
So I took a break, but Rhonda taught me that people who know when to take a break and to take the rest and then come back, they actually last longer
You
than
have
people
to.
who
In our agency too, you get really lucky. Like Nelson Community Services, really, for the most part, like it's our AD is now putting self-care in. Like now there's the 4-day work week. Now they notice, like, take your stress leave for a hot minute. Like, do what you have to do.
Yeah.
And
so I think that just for my own personal experience, I couldn't do this work more than 4 days a week. I couldn't.
No. That's why I was doing 6 days a week and then got sick as hell in December for a month and had to drop a day.
Oh, that makes sense. Because
that was the second job, right?
Yeah.
I had 2 jobs. So, yeah, your body kind of tells you when enough is enough, and then all of December I shut down and was sick.
Yeah. So how do you see burnout affecting frontline workers? Because it's a high turnover rate. Like your coworkers, other people at the shelter.
How do I see it affecting, or how? What's
the
question again?
I don't know. How do you see burnout affecting frontline workers? Like, do you see burnout taking a toll on other people that you?
Yeah, I do. And another thing I'm really grateful for, because coming from trail, it wasn't like this. I started with this career in trail, and it was horrific. I hated it. But I see the word collaboration. All the agencies in Nelson are connected and take care of each other, and I now have, like, you guys, shelter, like, we're all so tight.
Yeah.
And so people can talk, and sadly enough, dark humor gets us through that for sure.
Totally.
But, like, I notice burnout in my coworkers, but I am so grateful that they are comfortable talking to me, or we can converse and be like, yeah, girl, you need to take that week off. Like, everybody is so close and supportive and talks, and you can recognize the burnout in each other, and again, like, dark humor your way through it, or just recognize, talk. Everybody is everybody's therapist too. Like,
I know. Okay, I love it because you keep setting me up for the next question perfectly. Because why I wanted to interview you, she said someone that I look up to and someone that I learned from. So I find that I learn a lot from you. Like, you're so chill, but we have a really close relationship. Like, I've known Jeremy for a long time just because recovery, and then he got my adopted brother Dan into treatment and stuff, and then got closer with Ryle, you know, this last year since losing Steven. Me and Mom always joke that he's our emotional support, Ryle.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But even though we have a strong relationship with those guys, me and, like, even Mom, we both feel really tight-knit with you. And something I really appreciate about you is you have a really strong rapport with the guests. And we notice, like, you care truly from your heart. Like, it's not a paycheck to you. Like, you do it because you actually care.
Yeah.
And I like that I can talk to you about anything for advice, you know what I mean? Like, just like a counselor, but we can check each other. But I can ask you something that's bothering me or that I need advice, and when you say it to me, it's not in a way that I feel triggered, or, like, you could tell me I need to change something or do something, but you tell it in a way that I'm like, oh, you're right. I'm not offended, you know? So I really appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
And you have also showed me how to communicate with other workers while being discreet, and, like, really keeping that confidentiality part in there and how important it is to people.
I love that.
And then I threw in this last question. Do you think this is the right field of work for me to get into?
Hell yeah.
And just why? Do you have any?
Because as much as you say all that about me, you have just as much of a connection, if not more, to all of our peeps. And as an example, last year I took the first year Selkirk, I can't remember what class it was, but I took them on a tour of all the services, and the ones that are so green with no background, like the individual, the practicum student you speak of, are going to get chewed up and spit out. And I hate to say that, like, I feel you need the background. You need to have gone through it in order to connect and make those relationships, because just as much as they need to trust you. Like, in certain points, we are the only ones that they have
It's true.
And they can call out bullshit.
Yeah.
They smell your bullshit
I know.
from a mile away. And you have those same connections that I do.
Yeah.
Because we both come from that bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's the genuine, like, you're gonna kill it. Just
yeah.
You already are killing it.
Thank you. It means a lot, though, because, like, when I first started doing this work at the hub, because I was, like, heavy addict. Yeah. And then I got clean, and then I went to school, and it was a surprise to me because I started working at the hub and dealing with our homeless community. They're all my friends. Everyone that I lived with, I've been roommate.
Be triggering, but you don't let it.
It was triggering the first 6 months. I used to go home and I would cry, but then I learned, like through trial and error, I learned boundaries. I learned like me being upset and crying isn't changing their fucking life. You know what I mean? And then at first, when I started working there, I was like, seriously, there's serious problems in our world, in our community, and I'm giving people a juice box, and I kind of felt like my job was kind of useless at first, but now I realize how important it is to be there for someone, to be their family, to treat them with dignity, to just listen to someone talk about their bullshit that no one else wants to listen to that week. Yeah.
Like, you and your mama are both that, and it's amazing. And going back to where you said, like, all these bands, that's when we are literally the only thing that they have. Like, you and your mom going to City Hall camp, like, we're it. That's it. And if that was your life, it would just, you would just recognize how heartbreaking and traumatizing.
Yeah.
And you have that.
Yeah.
You have that same.
Thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
Yeah, I love it. You guys nail it.
Woohoo! We did it! 46 minutes!
Thank you. That was awesome. Oh, I'm glad. I love you.
Okay, we're free.